Hello, beautiful people. Hello, hello. It's so good to see you here. So glad to see you guys live, or if you're tuning in for the recording later, thank you for being part of this world with me. Elena Harder of Joygasm, Evolving Humanity, and Neo here sharing with Chris Miner today about hypnosis, past life regressions, soul regressions, and the success mindset. How do we get into a new place in our lives in a really effective way that allows us to completely transform and become brand new from where we actually were previously and know ourselves as a completely different human being. This is a really powerful thing. I've seen this happen in my life, and I am so excited to be here with you guys today, sharing this and exploring what it is to create a new self. What is it to be a completely new self? So I just wanted to share with you guys today, and I'm super excited. We're gonna invite Chris on in a minute. He'll be joining us shortly, and yeah, it'll be great. So we're super excited about that. In the meantime, super appreciate you guys being here, and if you have any questions, always, whether you're here live or here in the replay, you are totally welcome to ask questions, and we're going to answer them at any time. I love questions. They spark great conversations, and if I don't know the answer, then I'll find somebody who does know the answer, and we'll figure it out. So that's super cool. Just checking in here, and feeling a little nervous today, to be honest. Feeling a little nervous and a little behind, but that happens. And so I think I'm just going to take a minute while we're waiting for Chris to come on, and I'm just going to do some homes, because I always feel better after I do it, and I love the little hearts, and I love the life. So Hi, Diane. Welcome. Hey, there's Chris. Great. Chris is joining us. Chris, come join us. Let's do some Om. Hello, Chris.
Hello, how are you?
Welcome. I'm super good. Just gonna see
Good.
if I can turn you up. I love your backdrop, my friend.
Thank you. I had this this is all airbrushed, UV reactive. I had it custom made from a girl in the Netherlands.
What?
Yeah, very, very cool stuff.
That's so cool. Will you
Yeah,
would you will you do me a favor? Will you move your head just so it's like right smack in the middle of it?
right strike in the middle of it,
Oh, I
just
love it.
crown chakra right there.
Ah, it's so good. I love it.
Yeah.
Handmade from a woman from the Netherlands. Awesome. Bruno and Karina from Sayulita. Wow, good to see you guys. So, Chris, beautiful. Thank you for being here. Um,
Oh, thank you for having me.
yeah, I'm super excited. We're gonna chat today about about making change in life, making change and being completely different, success mindset, and
Mhm.
how that relates to soul regression, past life regression, and all of these things. And I'm super excited. We met I think online originally when I was reaching out about this, and then we met at
Yep,
the wellness fair in the Stampede grounds there.
that's
Yeah,
right. Yeah, the
yeah,
Health and Wellness Show.
and we had a fantastic chat about just like transformation and how so many experiences of practitioners don't necessarily hold. This is my memory, right? So don't necessarily hold the the coherence for instant, powerful, like life transformative, everything's different now kind of change. How that's a relatively rare thing to find, and yeah, we both expressed appreciation for that kind of transformation as a recipient and as a practitioner. So I'm excited
Yeah.
to jam on more of that with you today.
Oh yeah, the rabbit hole is deep, but very, very cool and very, very interesting.
Yeah, yeah. So
Yeah.
I'm excited to go on this journey with you today, and yeah, it's gonna be great.
Likewise. It's
Yeah,
Tuesday transformations.
you got it. Oh, I
Ooh,
like that.
there we go.
I like
Hmm.
that. Yeah, yeah. Because you've already had enough time to see what you didn't do on Monday that you were like, oh man.
You know what? Every day for me is interesting. It's the other thing too is yeah, I can't understand how people get bored.
Hmm.
Life is just way too interesting, and there's always something that you can be
It's
doing, reading, or learning about yourself, about the world, about everything. It's when people are like, "I'm just bored." I'm like, "How? How is that? How is that possible?" And then it's like, you know what? Be bored for as bored as you can be for as long as possible. Like just delve into that
try,
boredom. And
try.
eventually you'll get bored of that.
Yeah.
And once you're bored of that, what's left? What do you just go do something?
Yeah.
So sometimes you just have to experience everything as much as you can experience it just to realize that it's not right for you,
Yeah. Yeah. Oh my
and
gosh.
that anything is better than doing what you're doing right now. So even if it's just, I'm going to go look at this wall and just see what kind of wall it is. It's like watching rocks grow is an amazing experience. It really, really is. It really is. You, how could you ever be bored? That is an actual thing that you can do.
I love it. Oh my god.
You know what? Transformational change comes when you are able to just knock down everybody's crap, everything that they could throw at you, and you're just like, oh, okay, you've tried everything. Have you tried watching rocks grow? And they're like, no, I haven't. Then you can't say that you've tried everything. So now it's always creating that possibility that there's something
Yeah.
else.
Yeah,
And
for
when you
sure.
do that, people just they end up adopting that mindset. When you adopt that mindset, there are no limits. People say the sky's the limit. I'm like, no, actually it's not.
Yeah. No, no, we're
I
going to
mean, that
space
might be the
now.
limit for where you can breathe, but there are, yeah, it's no, there are no limits.
I can't count the number of times in my life where I've encountered a niche on the internet and I was just like, there's thousands of people who are into that. Like, I had no idea. Like, there
Yeah,
are so many different things in the
yeah,
world. Just like,
yeah.
wow. And to think that what you're doing right now is not interesting enough to be worth living your life or to be worth making a possible change for if you're not happy with what you're doing. It's just like,
Yeah.
yeah, and I think that's where the soul piece comes in because I find that with depression, like often that's so linked to not following the urge of the soul, not following the urge of what's calling you in your life. And so
Yes.
then a moment of transformation that like puts you re in touch with that shows you how important that is in a really profound way, and also shows how bad the alternative is, right? Because often we skim the surface of what the alternative looks like. It's like, oh well, it's just another piece of pizza, but we don't connect that to being like 600 pounds obese and unable to get up to get your own food, right? We usually
Hmm.
attach it to like, oh well, I'm like slightly heavier and like un unwell in my body, right? It's not like we don't go to the, oh, I'm dead because of this. The psyche doesn't,
Yeah.
that's a protective mechanism, right? So then through the experience of like going into an inward journey, then you're able to sort of unfold that into the greater extremes and make it less possible and more probable to move towards the desired state. Did I get that
Yeah.
right?
Yeah, absolutely. It's we break it down a little bit better to make it really easy to understand. So when you break it down to like a 5, 6 year old level,
Yeah.
the subconscious is actually about 5 or 6 years old. And
Right.
the subconscious is like that because when you're 5 or 6 years old, you can walk up to a 5 or 6 year old and say like, I've got a dragon outside. And they're like, really? Where did you get it? What's its name? What color is it? Can I go ride it? And you have that conversation with a 16-year-old, and it is a much different conversation.
Yeah.
They probably wouldn't look up from their phone. So your subconscious mind has to be about that age because it can't know the difference between what's real and what's not real, which what allows us to be co-creators of our realities.
Hmm.
So when people are looking inside, a lot of this is societal, a lot of this is upbringing. So
Yeah.
you brought up depression, and what you said, you nailed it right on the head. Depression is when you're not listening to your inner self, your soul, your true intentions. I deal a lot with depression, anxiety, past trauma and abuse, things like that, and releasing those things.
Yeah.
And one of the things that I find is uh, people are living their lives for other people,
Yeah.
or they're living their lives to be perceived in a certain way that is acceptable through society.
Yeah.
So what is their definition of success and what have they adopted?
Yeah.
So these come
Yeah.
down to the mindsets and processes that we have running in the background. So these processes are running just back here outside of your conscious awareness.
Yeah.
And it's like you said with the pizza.
Yeah.
You don't actually take a thought about the pizza. You're just running on processes. And a lot
Yeah.
of those things could be parental. You know, your
Yeah.
parents taught you not to waste food. Your
Yeah.
parents taught you to clean your plate.
Yeah.
Your parents taught you that, you know, if you don't eat all of that, you can't do anything else. You're going to sit there until you finish everything on your plate.
For sure. Yeah. All of
Well,
those
those
things.
become damaging mindsets later on in life.
Yeah.
So another one is food as reward.
Yeah.
So it's like, oh yeah, if you do all your chores, we'll go out for ice cream. Well, okay, that's a good, you know, we think that's a good method to get children to do what they're supposed to do, but then later on they grow up and they're like, oh, I did good today. I'm gonna go and buy a cake. Or I'm gonna go
Do
order a
people really
pizza.
do that?
Oh yeah, they still reward themselves with food.
But
Food is
like,
now used as a reward because it becomes a mindset. It's a process. They don't even think about it. They don't make the connection because again, these processes are back here. They don't see them. But
oh,
once you take them from here and put them here where they can see them, then they can analyze them, they can
right.
understand them, they
Right.
can make the decision now, what am I going to do about this? So now you look at that extra piece of pizza, you know you're trying to lose 30 pounds,
Yeah.
and now you make that decision. What am I going to do about that?
Right. All of a sudden it becomes
And then you
different.
think about I think about eating that pizza. How does that make you feel? Well, not too good, especially given your goal is to lose 30 pounds.
Right.
Well, how about having a glass of water and going for a walk after the maybe, I mean, we're not saying to take pizza out of your diet. If you should be able to eat what you want to eat, but you'd be smart about it.
Yeah.
You're not eating a half a pizza, you're eating 1, 2 slices, you have a glass of water, and then maybe you go for a walk.
Yeah.
That would make you feel a lot better than just devouring half a pizza.
Or an entire
Or
pizza.
you have 2 pieces of pizza and then you have a salad with that, or something like that. So it's always about finding that happy medium of balance. And
Yeah.
we're very polarized. You can see this in politics, you can see this in religion, you can see this in all people's lives. Is we'll go this way. Oh, that didn't work. Okay, we're going to the complete opposite side. It's like, well, there's balance in between.
Yeah.
So you don't have to just go from one extreme to another. A lot of people are like, well, I got to get to the gym. So we'll just take weight loss. I got to get to the gym 5 days a week.
Yeah.
Okay, well, if you don't get there 5 days a week, now you've failed. You're not a success.
Oh my
You
God.
feel bad.
Oh
So
my
now
God.
I'm just not going to do it. I can't do it. So we create these excuses in our lives that are reasons why we are the way that we are. And
Yeah.
it's very damaging
Yeah.
because we end up with, well, this is just how life is. This is just how I am.
Yeah.
These are just the cards that I've been dealt. We have all sorts of really great sayings
Yeah.
to put meaning to how our life is.
Yeah. And then there's like
And
thousands of people who have like massive challenges who have just like kicked butt, right? So there's like,
Yeah.
there's one side of like, oh, I have excuses, but then it's like, well, these people had even more excuses, and they're just rocking it, right? So then there's clearly a disparity. And you were saying there's like thousands of different
There's thousands of excuses. There's thousands of things that people are going through. It's called life. And then we put a label. Then we put a label to them, and we say, okay, well, you have chronic depression.
Yeah.
All right, all the time. Like, imagine you're in the shower soaping up your body. Are you depressed now?
I've had
You
those.
can't be depressed all the time. That's that's a commitment.
Yeah.
You know, and depressed people don't really like to commit. So, and they're not that motivated. So you've got to be pretty motivated to be depressed 100% of the time, 24/7, 365. And when you show people discrepancies in their thinking and their way of doing, all you need to do is create that one little piece of, and then you break the cycle. And then you can now guide that cycle into something else. We get stuck in these loops because we're always creating meaning. And the human mind is absolutely fantastic. The human animal that we are is absolutely amazing. We can believe things that aren't real. And I give people the example of Santa Claus.
Totally.
Santa Claus doesn't exist, but yet we all at one point believed in Santa Claus, which means that we were capable of believing in something that is not real at all. So it's a very interesting, and we look for proof. So if somebody comes and tells us, oh, you have chronic depression, so you see a doctor, a psychologist, whoever, and it says you have chronic depression. Well, now you're going to look for things in your life to prove that.
Yeah.
It's rare that you're ever going to go, well, let me find all the things in my life that disprove what this doctor just told me or what this person just told me.
Yeah, it doesn't happen.
Supposed to be an expert.
I tried that. It was really challenging to hold both.
It is very challenging. It is very challenging because the human nature is to go one way to prove our beliefs.
Yeah.
And if they're self-given beliefs, this is just how my life is.
Yeah, for sure.
This is just how I am. Well, once you start believing that, you're going to look for every instance in your life, past, present, future, that's going to encourage that belief and perpetuate that belief.
Yeah. Yeah.
And we're great at adapting, which is
helpful.
Almost everything about the human animal is a double-edged sword. Like, we're great at adapting. We can live anywhere on the planet.
Oh my God, I know.
We can do all these great things. But the problem is we adapt to our mindsets too, which means we tell ourselves like, oh, this is just how I am. And then we adapt our lives to accept the suffering that we're going through, the issues, the challenges that we're going through. And we just make it work for our life.
Yep.
We call them functioning.
Yep. Functioning.
All right. Yeah, I get it. You're functioning, but why don't we strive for something a little bit higher? Let's raise the bar to happy, healthy, and whole.
Yeah, I'm a high functioning addict.
High functioning is even a better one. It's like I'm a functioning person and I'm a high functioning person. It's like okay, well,
who's everybody else?
What are you when you're low functioning? You know, it's like, are there swings between that? So the education that I do is to let people know that there's an option for them. And it's really unfortunate because by the time I get to have this conversation with people, they've been through drug therapy, they've been through doctors, they've been through specialists. You really have to ask yourself, at what point in my life do I need to look up a hypnotist? And we find that that's actually pretty low. So I like to have these conversations with people, but usually when they're at that point, they're like, can you help me? That's all I care about. I don't care what you do. And I'm like, well, I've got a bat with some glitter over there. You know, we can make this real quick. And change happens instantly. Here's my wand. So it's very, very interesting. It's an uphill battle for sure.
Yeah, well, because of the bias, it's like if you're comfortable with what you've got going on, then it is, and like, what am I gonna, you have to reach that life is unmanageable point before you're like, okay, I gotta make a shift. That's how this whole world and like the NLP, like that's sort of my angle that I've studied the mindset change through. It's just like I started looking for that when life was really, really fucked up, and prior to that I was fine, which is why so many people come to their healing journeys from
Yep.
like disease and major illness or like major disability, because they're like, wow, I need to make some change. And I think that's part of why the people who have these like really amazing success stories like are who they are, because there's this intensity in behavior that causes crisis. We got friends going on. What's going on?
Coffee
Ah,
or tea. Sorry,
tea from a friend.
tea
Great.
from the friend.
That's so wonderful. Yeah, so it's like these big crises that cause that, like, something's got to change. Yeah. And
Yeah.
except I find maybe there's like a subset of people who don't have major challenges but are taught something resembling success mindset as like a way of being from their families.
Um,
But you probably don't ever see those people in your like
no, and
crisis
that's
space.
and that's the yeah, no, and that's the unfortunate part because the people who seek me out are the people who believe they're broken, who believe there's something wrong with them, who are pretty much at the end of their rope.
Yeah.
And now we take these steps to make them happy, healthy, and whole. And because we've changed I say we because I include my subconscious mind in everything. I don't have a mouse in my pocket or anything. I'm not schizophrenic. But I use just to kind of because everybody's gonna be like, who's this we?
It could be you and like
I
you
don't I
people.
don't have I don't have a team of people, not yet. So it's so we take all these steps to get people happy, healthy, and whole. And then
Mm-hmm.
we've made all these changes in their lives. So now they go out into the world and they're like, oh, I'm fixed. Everything is so much better. Well, yeah, of course. If you're starting at 1 and we get you to a 5, everything is going to be amazingly better.
Yeah.
But if we take somebody who's already at a 5, we can bring them up to a 10. If we take somebody who's at a 10, we can teach them stuff that is next level stuff. I mean, we're talking
Yeah.
being the master of your own universe and
Yeah.
coexisting,
Yeah.
creating realities.
Yeah.
Your subconscious mind, basically every time that you're doing the right thing at the right time in the right place and you're just on the path, your subconscious mind is just shooting pleasure right up your spine, kundalini just, and you're like, yes, this is what I want to do. This is a good choice. I like this. That's what I'm talking about. And when I'm
Exactly.
dealing with, yeah, when I'm dealing with somebody who's at a level 1, now it's just a matter of like, let's just get you to feel good.
Yeah.
And then they feel good and they're like, this is amazing. My
Yeah.
life is better. And that's true. But they don't understand that life can be
So much better.
exponentially better
Yeah.
the higher up you go.
Yeah.
And so yeah, it's a little unfortunate that we don't get to see too many people who are already awoken. They understand that they are co-creators of existence
Yeah.
with the universe. And then when you get them there, it's like, okay, what's
As an
next?
Yeah, as like an embodied experience, right? So as
Yeah,
opposed to like, oh yes, I understand this. It's like physiologically, synergistically like linked with that system in a way that it's like incredibly pleasurable to be a human being on the planet.
yes. Yeah, I'm talking about people walking around completely blissed out of their minds just because they can. And they
Yeah.
make the choice. And they wake up and they're like, what do I want to be excited about? And your subconscious mind is like everything. And you're like, yeah, that's pretty much about right. I want to be excited about everything. People are like, oh, it's Monday. I can't wait till Friday. I'm like, you've got 5 days of just who knows what. None of my days are ordinary. I don't care if I'm going to work with somebody, or if I'm sitting at home reading or doing everything. None of my days are ordinary. None of my days are regular. And
Yeah.
I do that on purpose because I want to be open for everything. I want to just take things as they come because if you're not open for everything, you have no idea what you're passing by. And
Oh my God, yeah, this, right? It's like I'm only
the
looking
blinders,
for
yeah, the blinders. And we
available.
have too many people. So we were talking about depression. Let's talk anxiety.
Yeah.
Anxiety is from people in their heads. They're too much in their heads.
Yeah.
And one of my favorite bands is Tool. I do quite a bit of research into their lyrics and everything. Been to a couple of their shows. As a hypnotist, I understand that their shows and their lyrics are very hypnotic.
Mm.
And one of the best lyrics is basically it says when you're too much in your mind, you separate the body from the soul.
Mm. Mm.
So if you're too much in here, you're not feeling. And if you're not feeling, feeling is how we interpret with our subconscious. Our subconscious is very symbolic, very feeling orientated. That gut feeling, we call it, that's your subconscious giving you red flags or telling you that you want to go this way or that way. And if you're too much in your mind, you're not listening to that. You're not feeling. And we're energy. We all have an electric charge within us. Everything is electrically charged around us. So therefore, when we feel that pull and that push, it's something you feel. It's not something that you think about. So when we start overthinking things, and again, this is social conditioning. So you ever have a teacher tell you when you're taking a test, your first answer is probably the most correct answer, right? Yeah. And then you finish your test early, and what do they tell you? Go back and check your answers. You just gave somebody a great piece of advice and then completely destroyed that advice.
Yeah.
Because now you're telling them to go second guess themselves.
Right.
Because they finished early? That doesn't make any sense.
No.
So when we start second guessing our decisions so the first decision is always the correct one, or usually the correct one, because your subconscious mind gives it to you. Why does your subconscious mind know it? Because it was there when you learned it. And when we second guess, now our pride, now our ego, now our negative beliefs, now all of our failures, all of our everything comes into play. Like, you couldn't possibly know something like that. Not that quickly. It must not be right. Let's go double check it. And sometimes you double check it and you know it enough and well enough that you're like, no, it's correct. Or sometimes now that's when you start making mistakes. You start, oh, I didn't do this right. That's not the correct way to do that. Or read that or whatever. And so now we make mistakes.
Yeah.
Feel it. If people felt more and were more comfortable with what they're feeling and identifying that, they'd make better decisions. They'd get out of their minds. They'd get more into their feelings, understanding their feelings, why they're feeling that way. What is it about this situation? That's where this stuff back here now becomes here. And you can see it for what it is. You make better decisions that way. It's very, very interesting. And this is all stuff that's taught. It's not given to somebody. We're all capable of doing these things. Right. We're all capable of greatness. We're all capable of waking up every morning completely blissed out of our minds and maintaining that state for the entire day. We're all capable of it. We just haven't been taught how to do it. That's all.
Yeah.
So I think it should be taught in school, but again, I can see how there are certain elements in play in the world that would want that to not happen.
Wouldn't want that to not happen. It's great.
I mean, an enlightened population that feels good for no reason whatsoever and can detach themselves from negative beliefs, negative emotions, and actually see information for what it is and choose what to do with it on a logical and well-balanced nature. Yeah. You wouldn't be making those credit card purchases. You wouldn't be in debt. You wouldn't be saying that I need all this stuff and to surround myself with all of this stuff. You'd understand what is actually important, what to prioritize, what not to prioritize. You wouldn't have people telling you what is important, what is needed, and everything. You'd be making these decisions. You'd understand that everything that you need is all right here already, and everything else is just sprinkles on top of a sundae.
Yeah.
If that's what you want.
Yeah.
Not what you need. So
yeah,
very, very powerful stuff, and this happens very, very quickly.
Yeah. Can you tell me what you think about the 100th monkey sort of principle of like the group of people who are working to awaken that kind of consciousness in their lives and like flipping the rest of the population? Just I'd love to hear what you have to say about that.
I have no idea what you're talking about.
Oh.
That is the one thing that came to mind when you said that was a couple things actually was the Tibetan monks, the 1 million Tibetan monks that came together to pray for world peace.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so and then having people awaken on a very large scale.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so it's basically resonance. So when you do like group chanting, group hypnosis, group stuff like that, the intensity, the power, the influence grows and increases.
Yeah.
So I'm a very firm believer in making change, not requiring, not putting our faith or our responsibility for change on other people.
Mm-hmm.
So, for example, when we elect a government, when we elect certain people, we're placing a lot of faith and a lot of responsibility on a single person or a body of people to make these changes for us. And time has shown that that doesn't work very well.
Mm-hmm.
So we have to make the choice. We have to make the changes where we can. So it starts with us, and then through your changes, you're going to be attracting people who are either wanting to be where you are or who have been where you are, who are now above you, who are going to bring you up with them. So now you start surrounding yourself with these people who you're feeling better. So therefore, they're going to start feeling better because you're sharing your beliefs, you're sharing your ideas, your thoughts, and all of these practices. And now these people feel better. So you enact change through your sphere of influence,
Yeah.
and through that they start enacting change through their sphere of influence, and sooner or later that sphere grows and grows and grows and grows and grows and grows and grows.
Mm-hmm.
And if you believe the 6 or 7 degrees of separation, I can remember which one it is, we're only 6 or 7 people away from global change that
Mm-hmm.
everybody can feel good for no reason whatsoever.
Mm-hmm.
And then you have the people who are very locked into their beliefs.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so you take people like chronic pain syndromes, chronic depression, social anxiety, stuff like that. Smokers are a big one.
Yeah.
Um, and this is where people take on their identities, or sorry, they take on their beliefs as their identities.
Mm. Right.
So
The
you,
behavior has identities too, right? Like,
yeah, yeah, exactly. So you talk to a smoker and they're like, I'm a smoker. Okay, well, no, you're a person who smokes. There's a big difference. So when you identify with your behavior, it's very hard to change that behavior because that would be me trying to take your identity or a part of your identity.
yeah.
And
Yeah.
identity theft is very scary. We have insurance against identity theft. People are paranoid of identity theft. We change our passwords for identity theft. Our stuff gets hacked.
Yeah.
And people are stealing our identities. And now I'm coming up to you saying, hey, can I have that smoking behavior? And you're like, no, 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 you cannot have that. Well, it's
Right.
not good for you. It's bad for you. And you want
Right.
me to take that from you, but you can't have it. So when you separate the identity from the behavior, then you have them look at the behavior and you say, well, can I have that now? And they're like, yes, I don't even know why I'm holding on to this. This is stupid. It's dumb.
Right. Right.
And now they're more willing to give something to you. So when you can get people, and this is where I do speak with medical professionals in being very cautious about what they say to their patients,
Yeah.
because doctors, as specialists, especially, have a lot of influence over how people think, and how people think and how it relates to how they feel and
Yeah.
relates to how they act.
Yeah.
So have you ever been sick with the flu and it's like 3, 4 days in and all of a sudden you start feeling better and then you get worse and then you're like, oh, this isn't good. And you go to the doctor and the doctor's like, yeah, 2 more days, you're fine. And what happens in 2 days? You're fine.
Yeah.
It's almost as if
Oh,
you knew exactly,
but
right?
if they had said, oh, this might be pneumonia, you're going to go into a whole different pattern and
Yeah.
potentially have a really different outcome.
Yeah. And if you hadn't gone, would you have healed up as quickly?
Yeah.
Or if he said, oh, yeah, it'll clear up in 3 days, would you have cleared up in 3 days?
Yeah. Yeah.
So mind plays over a very, very large part of this. So you have to be very careful. This is where the DNA tests come in that are probably a little bit more damaging than good, I'm finding.
I've heard
Is
that, yeah.
Yeah,
There was an
not
article.
only does it create some very, very interesting family discussions when people are adopted or not their proper siblings or whatever. I've heard lots of horror stories on this because then people come into therapy to deal with this. So if you take it as entertainment, if you are like, that's interesting, it's entertaining, and are able to keep it contained under entertainment,
Yeah.
not fact,
Yeah.
you're probably okay. But if you get it back and it's like you have 35% chance to have type 4, type 2 diabetes, your subconscious mind is like, good to know. Let me write that down.
Yeah.
Because if you believe it and you have the document to prove it, your
Yeah.
subconscious mind doesn't know the difference between what's real and what's not real. It only
Yeah.
knows what you choose to believe or want to believe.
Yeah.
Remember, 5 or 6 years old. If you tell a 5 or 6 years old, 6-year-old that they're a piece of garbage for their entire life, by the time they get to 10, 11, 12, they're
Or
not going to have very high self-esteem
no.
because they believe this now.
Well, because by the time we're 7, we're sort of transitioning out of that like child mind space, and then anything that's been programmed in is like is then starts like repeating indefinite until we find a way of moving out of that loop, right? And
Yeah.
usually that comes through like some sort of dramatic change work.
Yeah, and
Otherwise,
well, yeah, and
keep doing it.
sometimes yeah, and sometimes we do a very good job of necessity is usually what causes that. So you get people who they they say something to the effect of, well, I've always been this way. This is just how I've always been.
Yeah.
And I say, oh, okay, well, when you were younger, when you wanted to cross the street, you probably had to hold a parent's hand, right?
Right.
And they're like, yes. And I was like, when was the last time you held somebody's hand across the street? Okay. So what was true for you then is not true for you now.
Right.
So therefore, just because you've always been this way, that's an excuse. That's not a reason to continue doing what you're doing if
Yeah.
it's not serving you and bringing you joy.
Yeah.
So again, it's always finding that little chink in, and when it comes to excuses and beliefs, there's always because and I have no problem pointing this out and picking on people to do this because they're coming to me wanting change,
Yeah.
and all they need is to think about things in a different way. And then once we break that cycle, then it's my job now to take them to where they want to be and show them how to get there.
Yeah.
And then install all of the beliefs, all of the patterns and everything. And one of the things that I love to do and why I have such great success is I teach people how to feel good.
Yeah.
And then I anchor that into doing good things that are going to bring them closer to their goal. So when they look at the pizza and they look at the salad, they're like, pizza looks good, but I feel really bad. And I look at the salad and that makes me happy. Well, what are you going to choose?
Yeah, that's because Chris was in your brain tinkering, being like, salad.
That's right. It's
Salad,
just
salad,
and
salad.
it's just enough to give them the nudge
Yeah.
to make the change positive, a positive experience.
Yeah.
We don't want changes to be negative experiences. One of the things I'm against is, and it's still a practice to this day, and I have no idea why, is negative or adverse therapy. So every time that you have a piece of cake or you're just it's gonna taste like ash in your mouth. And I said ash, A-S-H, just in case anybody was worried about that. And you're gonna feel nauseous. Well, that's not really gonna work. It might work for a little while, but then eventually somebody's gonna say, I'm a grown person. I pay taxes. I work hard. If I want to have a piece of cake, I'm gonna have a piece of cake. And then the suggestion is gone.
Right, because they've overridden it with a stronger like personal belief about themselves and their ability to make choice.
Exactly.
And the belief structure is maybe not strong enough to hold it, or is it just because of like the strength of like,
well, it's because it's a negative,
the rest of the things?
It's a negative belief.
Okay.
And they're overpowering it with positive understanding. Yes,
themselves.
you are an adult. Yes, you
Right.
do pay taxes. Yes,
Right.
you do work hard.
Right.
So, and no, cake does not taste like ash. No, cake
Right.
does not make you nauseous.
Right.
So again, these are false things. So But if I set it up that if you make good choices, you're gonna feel better about yourself. You're
Yeah.
gonna feel better about the choices. It's
Yeah.
gonna feel good to you to make good choices.
Yeah.
Well, guess what? Now I've made it as easy as possible. They still have to make the choice to
Yeah.
have the celery sticks over the cake. But they're gonna be eating these celery sticks going like, oh God, that feels great. That feels
Yeah.
amazing. And
Yeah.
it's like, go ahead, have that piece of cake. And they're gonna be eating it and they're like, doesn't feel as good.
Yeah.
Tastes good, doesn't feel good.
Yeah.
Get out of your mind, get back into yourself.
Yeah.
Your answers are all right here. You already know what you need to do. You already know all the changes that need to happen
Yeah.
in order to reach your goal and then move beyond. And that's the next thing you have to teach people. What's next?
Yeah. Yeah. What's
Because
next for sure?
your goal is great, but eventually you're going to get there. What's next? And what's next is even more fun because you've already reached your goal. You know you can do it. You know that anything is possible now. And goals again are very are and I'm most people right now are probably going like he's probably not popular in some circles, and it's very true because I have these beliefs that are not popular with other therapists, with other change workers.
Yeah.
And the other one, which is not a popular belief, is goals. Goals have to be very fluent. Everybody says you have to have a goal and you have to stick to that goal and you have to move towards that goal.
Hmm.
Well, you have to think we don't work linear like a graph.
Yeah.
So when you're here and your goal's here, okay, you're the you of right now. But the you 6 months from now is not the you of right here where that goal was made.
Right.
So therefore, you have to now look at yourself 6 months later and understand, is that still the same goal? Is that still what I want? Because that's what you wanted here, not here. So if you keep that in mind, your goals will constantly either move or change, or you might even realize you're like, I already got what I wanted. I thought it was here, but it was actually back here.
Mm-hmm.
So now what's next?
Yeah.
Maybe it's over here. So you have to keep looking at where you're going. Everybody says you have to stay present, and that's true, but you have to keep, looking up every now and again. But everybody who's looking up is not looking down, and that's where the rocks are that are going to trip you up.
Yeah.
So you have to be very fluent. You have to be always taking in and figuring out what's good, what's not good, what's real and what's
Mm-hmm.
not real. There is a whole lot of stuff out there that is not real.
Mm-hmm.
And we make it real. We choose to have it real, but it's not.
Mm-hmm.
There's these glasses that I saw an advertisement for that when you wear them, it shuts off all monitors. It
Oh,
just
cool.
blacks out the monitors when you're wearing these. So you can't see what's happening. And, for a place like Tokyo, for a place like New York
Right.
City, or some place where, you're just bombarded with all of this. But I mean, even if you're in a bar,
Yeah.
there's all sorts of stuff. I don't watch TV,
I find it
but
so.
when I do go out to a bar, I find that I'm stuck on this TV
Yeah.
because I haven't seen it in so long, and it's so seductive. It's so just, sucks you right in.
I
And
have
I'm
the same
like,
experience.
wow, like it's absolutely crazy.
Yeah.
So I have a really hard time with that when I go out and like have lunch or have a drink or something, and I'm just sucked to this TV, and I feel like I have to keep pulling my eyes away from it. So having glasses like that, I think, is an amazing idea.
Yeah.
But people are starting to get it.
Yeah.
That there's just influence all around,
Yeah.
and the next step is teaching people that everything that they put into their mind, their subconscious is listening.
Hmm.
Their subconscious. People are like, I listen to the radio in the background. I'm like, ooh,
I
okay.
know. I know. And
Like,
like
you need to
TV
listen
in
to
the
like,
background, like radio in the background.
because
Sure, music,
it's
music.
fine.
Even
It's
music, I
fine, but
only listen to
the
stuff that I
commercials.
know has like the right messages that I want to put into my mind. Like I have music that I enjoy from the past that I enjoy the tune of, but like I don't listen to it anymore on purpose because I'm like, I don't want to put the message you can't always get what you want into my head. Like, no, thank you.
Yeah,
Right? Like
yeah,
that is
yeah. And it's a
programming
classic,
straight
and it's a
up.
classic song. Can't get no satisfaction. I these are classic songs that are we're told are like the greatest in the world,
Yeah.
and
And look at that
rock and roll
generation.
Hall of Famers.
But that
Yeah.
generation is like, no, you can't have what you want. Like you just got to do what you need to do. And like that's been serving for a period of time. But we have the opportunity to create a different set of lyrics, right?
Yes,
Especially
yes.
since music
And
does
you
have
will
that
find
hypnosis
too.
piece. Go ahead.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Lyrics are very, very hypnotizing. It's because you involve music. So if you're paying attention to the music, there was a good saying that was out there that was depending on your state of mind it depends on whether you hear the music or you hear the lyrics.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah, it's very interesting, and if you think about it, it's kind of true because the lyrics speak to you on a different emotional level than the music does.
Hmm.
They all tie together, but you're never listening to like both at the same time. It's like you're listening to one or the other. So
Yeah.
music, yeah, it can be very, very hypnotic.
Was
Um,
only recently that I encountered people like I listened to the lyrics predominantly, but also the
hmm,
music. But it was like recently in the last year or so that I actually had a conversation with somebody and realized that people actually had like they didn't listen to the lyrics and that wasn't part of how they listened to music. They were just listening to the sounds as their primary way of accessing music. And I was like it was mind boggling to me that this was even a thing. Um, yeah.
yeah, well, your subconscious is picking up everything.
Yeah.
So somebody's getting it. So when you listen to things in the background, your subconscious mind is picking up everything. So consciously, we can only focus on about 12 to 15 things at once.
Yeah.
And then the first thing drops off. But subconsciously, you can pick up everything. And
Right.
your subconscious stores that and creates. This is why physicists believe that the world is a projection
Hmm.
and they're not wrong. So, you ever seen like old Nintendo,
A long time ago, yeah.
like old video games
Yeah.
nowadays? Oh, you froze. Okay, there we go. Um, so, so Nintendo's these old school video games very pixelated.
Yeah.
Well, our eyes, because consciously we can't pick up a lot of information, so we pick up things that look very similar to that, very distorted. We kind of get a rough estimate of what we're seeing, and then your mind fills in the
Hmm.
gaps.
Mm-hmm.
So our eyes, there's the retina in the back. There's an attachment that attaches to our brain. Well, because of that attachment, in our vision, we see black spots that are about this size in our vision in
Hmm.
each eye. Well, we don't see that normally
Mm-hmm.
because our minds
Just
fill
fills it.
in
Yeah.
the gap.
Yeah.
If you're looking for something and you're rushed, you're looking for your car keys
Yeah.
or right? And then you find them, they're sitting on the table, but you couldn't see them.
Yeah.
Okay? Your mind erased it from your vision.
Yeah.
Okay. So reality is kind of like a projection. It's based on what we see. So it's very interesting. As a stage hypnotist as well, one of the it's not really a crowd pleaser, but it's definitely a mind blower for people. Is when you get people to not see something that's right in front of them.
Right.
For example, the hypnotist.
Yeah.
Okay, but if you understand how this works, the mind has to first see it in order to not see it.
Yeah.
So I'm always there. They see it, but the mind makes me invisible. So what does it do? It fills in where I'm at with the background.
Yeah. Which is relatively easy because the background is large and expansive and full of
Yeah,
space.
it guesses. It guesses. It just like, okay, well, this kind of makes sense. There's some people sitting here in chairs. There's this wall back here. So we're just going to fill all that in.
Yeah.
So it basically erases me.
It's so
So
wild.
I've become a projection. So this is why when people start working with me, the first thing I tell them is you're going to understand very quickly that reality is very flimsy
Hmm.
because we can choose how we feel, we can choose how we think, we can choose how we act, and we make these choices now. When you become very proactive in your life rather than reactive, reality takes on a whole different meaning because you see things, you see people reacting to things, and then when it comes your turn, you're like, how do I want to feel about this?
Yeah.
No, no different. I want to feel the same.
Yeah.
Okay, no change.
Yeah.
And then you see people reacting and you're like, what's going on there? And you actually now start seeing people a little bit robotically. We're not robots, but you can start seeing the programs running in people.
Oh yeah, for sure. For sure. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Like, I'm
Very,
stuck
very
in
cool.
this and this is my
Very,
thing. And
very
I'm like,
interesting.
you're like, oh, I'm sorry. You got this little thing
Yeah.
going on or whatever. I mean, sometimes it's positive too, right? Like there's definitely a positive side.
Oh yeah.
Oh
yeah.
Like, really good mindsets going on, but
the positive processes, it's like, you know, and we have to understand that we do run these processes, we do run these programs. So if that's how we're made and that's how we're going to be, the programs should probably be positive. So if you're going to be watching TV, if you're going to be listening to something, it should be positive. If you want positive stuff running inside of you, you have to surround yourself with positive things. They did a study that showed that more intelligent, more awoken people listen to music with no lyrics.
Oh, interesting. Yeah.
And that would make a lot of sense because they understand that what they want going in, they want the, you know, they want their own experience.
Yeah.
You ever hear that phrase that you can get a lot higher without drugs than with them?
Oh yeah, for sure.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I'm sure 20 years ago, most of us would be like, I don't get that.
Yeah.
But I can tell you that that is very, very true. And that there is no upper limit to how good people can feel.
Right. Wow.
There's no upper limit.
Right, because you had
the sky is not the limit. Yeah. When we teach people how to feel good, it's like, okay, one to 10, you know, scale of 1 to 10. And then I'm like, okay, well, I'm going to count to 3 and we're going to go to 12. And they're like, oh, and I'm like, yeah, well, you know what? You think 12 is a big deal. Like, we can go to 1 billion. Like, we can go as far as you want. And then once you get people, and then you're just like, okay, 1, 2, 3, 12. And I'm like, where are you at? And they're like, 12. And I'm like, yeah. Like, how is that? And you just see them they're trying to process. They understand why it's working because I'm a hypnotist, but they don't understand until I say, okay, in a moment, I'm going to count from 1 to 3, and I want you to choose a number. Choose a number between 1 and 50. And I'm like, you got a number? And they're like, yeah. I'm like, 1, 2, 3. You get that number? Yeah. Good. You do it. That's all it takes. You cannot unthink thoughts. You cannot undo experiences. Once somebody has experienced that, they can never unlearn it. They can never go away from it. They can never feel bad and not know that that's a choice.
Oh my God, I hated that part.
And they don't have to. It's not something that you have to do.
The hard part for me was that even after I knew I had that choice, I continued for many years to choose suffering. And while knowing I was doing it and like getting something out of it, that was very, very frustrating for me.
We call that secondary gain.
Yeah. And then Nayurka told me about secondary gain, and I was like, shit. And I started working on it. And then life got a lot better.
Yeah. Yeah. Once you start taking these processes out from here and putting them here, you see secondary gain very easily.
Yeah.
You also build this communication with yourself, this understanding of yourself. And remember when I said we get out of our heads and we get more into our bodies and ourselves? Okay. When you are doing a negative behavior and then all of a sudden you're like, well, why am I doing that? Like, I don't like feeling like this. Why am I doing like that? And all of a sudden your mind is like, because you like the attention.
Right.
That's kind of a slap in the face. But at some point, you're going to be like, it's true.
Yeah.
It's true.
Yeah.
And when you can just, instead of, oh, no, that can't be right. And you're just like, damn, I like the attention.
Yeah.
Okay. Now you have a choice. You can continue and say, well, I do like the attention, and the attention is good. So now this negative thing, so again, we all choose our lives. Or you can say, well, okay, the attention isn't that great. I'd rather have better attention. So I'm going to stop doing that. I'm going to start doing this.
And that would be more of a success. That would be more of that, like a successful version of that piece. Yeah.
Right. And if you have that moral compass, I kind of call it a compass. So if you feel good, it makes choices easier. So you ask the question, why am I doing this? You get the answer, well, you like the attention. And you're like, okay, well, I can do this, or I can do this. And then you think about this, and you're like, yeah, that doesn't feel good. And you think about this, you're like, oh yeah, that feels good. It makes the decision very, very easy for us.
Right.
And if we're open to change, if we embrace change with positive intent, then we're more likely to go about doing that. So life becomes much easier. You make
Yeah.
better choices. You're in a better, positive resource state
Yeah.
where you can make these better choices. You have the feeling to kind of back you up. Remember, I make some good choices and I get this nice feeling up my spine. I'm like, ooh, that felt good. Let's do this. And if it doesn't happen, it's like, well, how do I get that to happen later? Or how do I, continue on this path?
Yeah.
There's all sorts of really great things that we can do that when we're taught, we can't unlearn. So like you said, you knew this,
Yeah.
but you just weren't doing it.
Yeah.
So that's when I tell people, go right into that suffering, and eventually you will get bored.
Yeah. Yeah.
You will.
Yeah.
You will. Because you're either going to get to the point where you're like, I can't stand feeling like this. And you know it's a choice.
Yeah.
Because you made the choice to dive into it.
Yeah.
A lot of people, when they're just kind of floating at that surface, they don't realize it's a choice. But it's like, go
Yeah.
all the way down, take that downward spiral, make a choice. Because if you can choose to go down, guess what? You can choose to come back up.
You got it. You
That's
could
right.
choose how far down you want to go too. It's like, oh,
That's right.
no, not all the way down. It's like, well, why would you go not all the way down? You can go all the way down, hold yourself there for a bit, and then come back up. Yeah.
Yeah.
I used to literally do that underwater to like show myself that I wanted to live. I would like swim underwater, just like hold myself there, and then be like, nope, nope, body wants to live. Like, get back up.
Yeah. Yeah,
Super
exactly.
effective to like instill that.
Yeah, and when you give people choices like that, and some people look like you got lobsters crawling out of your ears. You're like, okay, that suffering that you feel right now, I want you to make that 10 times stronger. They're like, what? It's like, why not? You're heading there. You're heading in that direction anyway.
Yeah.
Let's go now. Why wait?
Yeah.
So dive right into that.
Yeah.
And then it's like, oh, are you 10 times deeper into that sadness, into that emotion? It's like, yes, I am. Well, guess what? You did that. I told you to do it. I didn't do that to you. So now what I want you to do is I want you to come 10 times back up to where you were. Okay. Are you back there? Yes. All right. Now I want you to come up 3 times higher than where you are right now. Okay.
Okay.
And then it's what you can't unlearn it.
Yeah.
Once they experience it for themselves, like you can tell people and they can try it on their own and find out that it's true. But once you get them to experience that powerfully, they can't undo that. They can never unlearn that.
Do you think
And
you
it's
could unlearn
now.
it on purpose? I've often wondered if you could like unlearn it
No,
on purpose.
no, you can't unlearn it on purpose. And the reason is that the human animal is natural condition is to relax and to move towards that which feels better, to move
Right.
towards pleasure.
So that
So,
like innate positivity.
yeah, people
overruns.
don't choose to move into sadness unless they've got some wires crossed. So we learn at a very basic age that good when you do good things you feel good, and when you do bad things you feel bad. And sometimes those wires do get crossed. It's very rare, but
Good
sometimes
things
they
get
do.
wired to things that aren't necessarily good. Yeah.
Right, exactly.
Like,
But now it's the belief system. So it's the belief system that's holding you at feeling bad is usually something to the effect of the excuses that you give. This is just how life is. These are the cards that I've been dealt. This is how I've always been. This is how it's always been. This is how it always will be. So that keeps you at that level of feeling poor.
yeah.
Once you teach people that you can feel worse on command, then you teach them that they can feel better on command. So it's kind of tricky playing with that because it depends on how long they've been in that area, that you might have to work with them in what does feeling good even feel like.
Yeah.
And even then, sometimes that's a great thing because now you can relabel what you're feeling.
Yeah.
So we label things at a very young age to create meaning to our experiences. But if you lose those experiences, some people just don't remember how to feel good. And it's like, okay, well, let's start with feeling less shitty.
Yeah.
How's that? Oh, that feels good. All right, let's label this as all right. Now we'll feel even better. We'll
Yeah.
label that as fine.
Yeah.
Now we'll feel even better. We'll label that as good. So we relabel these things with people, and now they have new definitions in their life. What is joy? What is happiness? What is, it could be anything you want.
Mm-hmm.
We can, they're predefined for us, but they don't have to be. We can change anything we want.
Yeah.
A good example that I give is when I'm dealing with people who have stage fright, um, or public speaking. I say, okay, well, imagine that you're about ready to go on, and there's 500 people out there, and what are you feeling? And they're like, I'm feeling nervous. I'm like, okay, well, let's change that nervous. Let's just erase that word, and I want you to write excited.
Yeah.
I'm like, now you're talking in front of 1,000 people. How do you feel? And they're like, excited. Why? There's no difference between the feeling of nervous and the feeling of excitement, except the label.
Yeah.
So they're feeling the exact same thing, but when we change the definition,
Yeah.
it changes the experience for them.
Yeah.
Now they're excited to go and talk to people.
Yeah. And that same label could move over towards anxiety, right? It's like anxious. It's just like so much, and I'm so ready, and it's just like don't know what to
Yeah.
do, right? And then it's like,
Yeah.
well, actually, just like so excited, so ready, so primed and ready to rock.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. When you change things like that, so the idea is that when you, bless you, when you label something, it becomes real. But when you define something, it becomes alive. This goes back to when we were talking about people owning their behaviors as their identities.
Right.
Okay, so you tell somebody that they're an addict. Now we're going to get into some very, very controversial stuff here.
Great.
So when you
So
when you
keeping in
label
mind,
somebody
all
an
this is the
addict,
opinion, and that's great because we all
yes,
have
this
opinions.
is just my opinion. So when you label somebody as an addict, you're giving them the definition of what addiction is. And so now they identify with being an addict.
Mm-hmm.
So when you go to like, and I'm not knocking NA or I'm not
Well,
knocking AA, but I'm just saying when first thing you do when you go to AA is you're like, hi, I'm Chris and I'm an addict.
Yeah.
Well, way to own that. When was the last time you had a drink? 30 years ago. I'm gonna say that you're probably past being an addict.
An
Just
active
me.
addict, at least. Yeah.
Just me. But so it's a behavior that you no longer do. It's no longer controls you. Yet you are kind of keeping up with that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Because again, when you ask somebody for their identity, they're not going to give it to you. It's part of them. It's part of who they are.
Right.
Well, no, the experience, the lessons, the learnings, that's all part of who you are. It makes you who you are today.
Yeah.
The emotions, the behaviors, all of that stuff was who you used to be. It's not who you are now. So can I have that?
Yep.
Are you willing to put that down and walk away from it?
Yep.
Instead of holding on to it for the rest of your life, like a life sentence. And that's what that's what the definition of addiction, that's what it does for people. They hold on to that. And this is why I'm probably going to get this wrong, the DSMR,
Yeah.
I believe that's the right one. Yeah.
Now.
Yeah, it gets bigger and bigger and bigger every single version. Why? Because people are coming up with all of these weird symptoms things. Doctors are like, we can't find anything wrong with you, so what are your symptoms? Oh, I got this, this, and this. All right, we'll call it chronic fatigue syndrome.
Yeah.
All right. And now they latch onto it. They're like, I have chronic fatigue syndrome.
Yeah.
Oh, what does that mean? Oh, it means this, 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 and this.
Yeah.
So they've now made it a part of their identity. There's no cure for it. I just have to suffer.
You gotta let go of your identity.
I just have to suffer the rest of my life with this. So when it comes to hypnosis, as far as I'm aware, it can treat anything that is not physical damage. So, we can't regrow limbs, but we can get rid of phantom pains.
Yeah.
because the mind likes to mess with you.
Yeah.
It likes, and that's got to be, I have all my limbs, so I don't know, but I just imagining that's got to be very frustrating to want to scratch a finger that's not there.
Oh my God, I can't even imagine.
So they've come up with all these great treatments, and one of them is like, I believe a mirror. They use a mirror so that the mind sees an arm where it's missing, and then you scratch the one that's still there, but you feel it over there. And that's an NLP and a hypnosis trick
Mm-hmm.
where you can touch somebody here, but they feel it over here.
Mm-hmm.
So very interesting things where they're using the power of their mind to facilitate that kind of work.
Yeah.
And then acceptance that the limb isn't there anymore and that you
Yeah.
shouldn't feel anything anymore.
Yeah.
But they have a label for it and a definition. It's called phantom or ghost pains, ghost feelings, something like that. Phantom or ghost symptoms
Yeah.
where we're missing limbs. So the mind is just messing again. Reality is pretty much just a projection. Very cool stuff.
Wow.
Like I told you when we started, the rabbit hole is deep.
So
The
good.
rabbit hole goes very, very deep. But the things that you can do with hypnosis is pretty much limitless. Like
Wow.
you are literally limited by the power of your imagination
Wow.
because your mind doesn't know the difference between what's real and what's not real. So you can hallucinate wildly and just have fun. One of the things I like doing is I get people into like their safe place, and then I turn them into butterflies or fish or a dragon or something, and I'm like, go have an adventure. Go have an adventure. Feel like what it's like to be a butterfly.
Thank you.
Like have this really weird experience in your mind. And then they come back with this experience that if when you look at a butterfly now, you
Oh.
remember you can't unthink thoughts. So when you look at a butterfly, you're like, I know what that's like, man. How could you possibly be inappropriate or how could you possibly be negative towards something that you've experienced greatly, which is why I don't understand human conflict
Yeah.
because it's almost as if we're not experiencing what it's like to be a human if we could still be that way to other humans.
Hmm. Hmm. Whoa.
Very, very right.
Whoa.
Right.
Well,
This is why I have
and
no.
like
This is why I have no ordinary days because my
well,
mind does not work
but
normally.
specifically that piece because like I've within my own experience like I've had this shift of like not feeling human for periods of my life and feeling like unable to interact with other human beings, and it's like, oh, I feel like I'm better to be human. And the other day I was having a conversation about like we need to learn the skills of being human, like sitting close to other people, right? Like that's a human skill. Like
Yeah.
enjoying meals
Yeah.
together, that's a human skill that we've like
being
forgotten.
being being present,
Yeah.
being social. We're
Yeah.
very social animals, and we've
Yeah.
become very antisocial,
Yeah.
which is not good.
Yeah. And it's showing
For,
up in
for
terms
us
of
to,
health declining
yeah,
across the board,
yeah,
loneliness being one of the biggest epidemics and whatnot. So
yeah.
yeah.
Communication is another one that I tend to teach a lot of people about, especially
Interesting.
people with depression and anxiety, because we talk depression. Most of the time, not all times, but most of the times, depression is when you're not living for yourself.
Mm-hmm.
So you feel very oppressed. You feel very you try to you almost disassociate yourself from the world
Yeah.
a little bit because it's like, well, if I have to do this, then I'm gonna get somebody else to do this. So you get another part of you to you start splitting yourself a little bit. It becomes very, very weird and disassociative. Anxiety, same thing. I don't like feeling like this, so you just trying to create another persona to deal with hard things.
Yeah.
And communication is huge on this, especially when it comes to when you understand where people are coming from themselves. It
Mm-hmm.
makes it much easier to understand that this really isn't about you.
Mm-hmm. For sure.
It's about what's going on for them.
Mm-hmm.
So when you understand that, you're able to identify with yourself what's going on for you. So a lot of this, all of this starts with communicating with yourself. The better you
Mm-hmm.
can communicate with yourself, remember, everything starts from here.
Mm-hmm.
It, that is like baseline number one. Everything starts from here. If you understand that as a primary principle in your life, everything will get better. It's impossible to not get better, because if you communicate with yourself, in communicating with yourself, you will communicate better with others.
Yeah.
So knowing how to communicate with yourself, we like very simple, clear instructions. Okay? Doing good things equals feeling good. Doing bad things equals feeling bad. Or bad things equal repercussions. Good things equal positive rewards.
Mm-hmm.
These are very simple instructions. So eating cake, not going to get me to where I want to go. Eating celery is going to get me to where I want to go. Eating celery equals good. Good equals feeling good. If we continue along that path, it becomes very easy to communicate with other people. Because if we're communicating with ourselves in very simple, easy instructions, we communicate with others in very easy, simple instructions like, why do you feel that way?
Hmm.
Or, okay, what are your expectations?
Right. Huge.
It's
Super helpful.
very
Super helpful. Now
simple,
you have so
easy
much information.
instruction. Yeah. So if you don't understand what somebody's saying and you say something to the effect of, I don't understand what you're saying, that opens up a whole thing. Well, what did this person not understand? Like
Yeah.
where did I go? You know, but if you say something to the effect of, can you just say that again, slowly and clearly? Or can you just say that again, but maybe in a different way?
Yeah.
That's a very clear instruction. So now this person has a choice. They can either get upset, oh, you didn't understand me, and you understand now that that anger or that emotion is coming from them. That has nothing to do with you.
Right.
That's something they're coming up with. Or they have the choice of following along with the instruction
Yeah.
and getting the benefit.
Yeah.
So communication is very easy, but we're making it complicated. We make it complicated with way too many words, definitions, and all these other things. And it just has to be very, very simple. It's like,
Mm-hmm.
I'm sorry I made you feel that way. I did not, I didn't know.
Yeah.
How did that affect you? And why do you feel like that affected you? Oh, that's fascinating. I just didn't know.
Oh my
And it's
God. And
okay to
just
say that.
so much connection and empathy in that tiny little statement versus like, what's wrong with you? Which is what so
Yeah,
many people get. What's wrong with you?
yeah.
Oh, you're feeling bad. What's wrong with you? It's
Yeah,
like,
what's going on for you? And even saying something like what's going on for you is way better
right.
than saying what's wrong with you,
Right.
because there's nothing wrong with anybody.
Yeah.
Nobody's broken. And again, very controversial statement there. Um, but everybody is the
Thanks
way
for
that
saying
they
that.
are
Yeah.
for a reason. It's
Yeah.
our past, it's our experiences, it's our everything. Now, just because they're not happy or just because they've got some things going on, it only means that they've got processes that did serve them before in the past. They're
Yeah.
just continuing to run now and
Yeah.
not serving them.
Yeah.
That's all. That doesn't make you broken. That makes you human.
Yeah. Yeah.
We're all human. We're all exactly where we need to be in life. We all have these processes running. Some of them are serving us, some of them are not.
Yeah.
And it's simply a matter of just learning how to take a step back and remember,
Right. Right.
here,
Sure. Yeah.
here. A lot of people are like, my life is this way because of all this other stuff.
Yeah.
No, it's not. It's right here.
Yeah.
All of this other stuff can't affect you at all unless you choose to let it affect you.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um, one of the things that blows people's minds is when you get to talking about addiction again, is like cigarettes. What is that cigarette going to give you? What do you believe it's going to give you?
Mm-hmm.
Well, it calms me down. And, I like it at this time because it relaxes me and it gives me a break and I feel this, that, and the other. And I'm like, okay, when you have a cigarette in the morning, does it relax you? You just woke up. Oh no, it wakes me up. I like to have it with my coffee. It gets my day going. I'm like, okay, well, what side of the pack is the wake up ones and what side of the pack is the relaxed ones? What do you mean? Well, can't do both.
Yeah.
Which ones give you pleasure and which ones cure boredom?
Yeah.
Oh, they all do everything. Okay. So what about Bob down the street? You know, his cigarettes do this, that, and the other. Is it by brand? Do you have a person at the factory who's like, this is for Chris, these are his cigarettes? And then you start telling them that, you know, the only thing that cigarette, it is literally dead leaves wrapped in paper. It has no physical magical properties. We give those properties to the cigarette so the cigarette can give it back to us.
Hmm.
So where did it all originate? Right here.
Yeah.
Everything always originates right here. And if we always come back to here, we'll always get the right answers.
Hmm.
We'll always get the best answers. And again, there's no right, there's no wrong, there's no good, there's no bad. There's just what feels better than what came before.
Yeah.
And if so, walk towards that step by step.
Yeah.
Just move towards it.
Yeah.
So everybody's going to end up where they need to go. So if you make bad choices, they're learning experiences. You don't have to get yourself down. This is, again, controversial, just my opinion. Feeling guilty is probably one of the worst things that anybody could feel. It is such a wasted emotion. Why? Because you had the choice. You knew what was going to happen if you got caught, or if you, whatever the repercussion is, you still chose to do it. You chose to roll the dice. And now the guilty feeling is social. You feel guilty because you feel the need to show guilt, to feel guilt. So everybody else sees that you're sorry about what you did. You're not sorry about what you did. You're sorry you got caught.
Yeah.
You made the choice. So guilt is a complete waste of a feeling.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like, okay,
When you
you
could be
chose to do
feeling
that.
joyful instead, if that's what you
Well,
wanted to
I'm
choose.
not gonna say you don't have to feel joy, because then, you know, people might look at you a little weird, but it's, you don't have to feel guilt.
Yeah.
You have to accept the fact that you got caught and understand and feel okay, or how you're going to feel about what you did.
Yeah.
But you take it as a lesson, you take it as a learning. You don't bring that emotion with you, that emotion of guilt.
Yeah. Right.
And you see those with people. Sometimes you know, you have to cut through their bullshit, and you know, and tell them something that they don't want to hear but that they need to hear.
Yeah.
And depending on where they're at with the emotions that they've taken from their past and brought with them to their future and their present, you'll see them like they just got slapped like a puppy. They'll just instantly, their eyes go down and they start slouching down. And you realize in that moment that it's not because they've been yelled at before. It's not because of it. All of these emotions that they've taken with them have created a response. They're responding to that situation.
Yeah.
And you don't have to. That's a choice. But
Right.
they're being reactive in their life. They're not proactive. Proactive would be, what is he telling me? How does that feel? Is there truth in it? How do I want to take this information? Rather than you look like you just got slapped in the face.
Right.
There's no point in that.
Yeah. There's
That's a react.
different ways of being able to handle that moment and
Right.
interpret it.
Yeah. So when you take people and give them that moment of choice, their lives immediately get better, and then exponentially better from there, because it becomes a process.
Hmm.
Stop. You're not just rising with an emotion from wherever it's coming from. It's, how do I want to feel about this?
Mm-hmm.
How am I going to respond to this?
Yeah.
And from that point, you make better choices. You make
Yeah.
better. So when you control what you think, you control how you feel, and how you control how you think and feel controls how you act. And it's all something that we're all capable of doing. We've just never been taught how.
Hmm.
To think for
Until
ourselves,
until now.
to change how we think and what we think.
Yeah.
And how we look at things.
Yeah.
A great example that I like to give during my live seminars is, you know, how many people, it's funny because I tell people I'm a hypnotist, and then I hypnotize people and tell them that they have to follow along with my instructions. Then I tell them, raise your hand if you believe the earth is round. And you get some people who don't raise their hands. And I'm like, okay, for all you flat earthers, it's cool. No judgment. But one of the things that I make a point is, we can have experiences, we can have beliefs that are based in complete fantasy, that they don't have to be real for us. So, everybody believes the earth is round. Majority of people believe the earth is round, but yet how many people have been to space to see it?
Right. Yeah.
Right.
So there's somebody
So,
else's word.
right. So maybe you've been up in an airplane and you're like, yeah, I can see the curvature. Or maybe you've seen pictures and videos from NASA and all this other stuff. So, but you don't have personal experience. So what that means is that we can take inferred experience and create a belief on that.
Mm,
A belief that we will fight people.
to maintain.
So if a flat earther came up, most round earthers would be like, you're crazy.
Yeah.
How could you
But
possibly
they
believe
need to
that?
deny the other person's existence of their reality in order to validate their own, which in its own way speaks to like a fragility in their own trust in their
Right.
belief, right?
And when it comes down to it, who cares? We can't leave the planet, so who cares if it's round? Who cares if it's flat? I mean,
Yeah.
that might only make sense to you if you're a physicist and that's your job to know these things or to make equations based on what the Earth is. But for most of us, who cares?
Yeah.
We live here,
Yeah. Yeah. Just
and
like
we
maybe
haven't been to
it's a
space,
simulation. Maybe it's
and
not.
we haven't been to space. So how can we honestly say that that's true or not true, and that
Mhm.
flat earthers are wrong? They can believe whatever they want to believe. That's their reality.
Yeah.
And that's fine because our reality is that we believe it's round.
And
Doesn't
both of
make
us.
our realities any different. That stop sign is still there, and which means we have to all stop, regardless of whether or not the earth is round or the earth is flat. So when
Yeah.
it comes to things like that really don't matter, but why do we make them matter?
Hmm. Because
So
it
this
gives us. Yeah.
polarization of, it's like I have to believe it's round or I have to believe it's flat. Well, no, you can actually sit here right in the middle with me saying, it doesn't affect me. I don't care.
Yeah.
And some people might say, again, not a popular belief. Some people might say, well, that's very irresponsible of you to not to not pick a side or not have a. I'm like, it doesn't matter. Whether or not the earth is round or the earth is flat, I want to be nice to you. I don't care what you believe.
If you want to
So
be
why
not
am I
nice,
going
yeah,
so
because
why
you
am I
believe
going
the
to
earth is flat.
marginalize myself?
Yeah.
Why am I not going to keep myself open? I'll listen to you. But again, you're not going to convert me to flat earth because I don't care.
Right.
If it's some bigger thing that, they're trying to hide it from us, what does that affect me? How does that affect me?
I found it affects people in that they live in more fear and more worry and more anxiety because of it. I've seen
Yeah.
people who are consumed by that. They're hiding things from us
The
as a
conspiracy
worldview and
mindset.
experience, and it's really quite challenging. It's one of the areas of sort of like the conscious awakening that think needs a good chunk of light shown on it to say, this is causing you challenges, it's causing people in the world challenges, but like what happens if we take that energy and point it towards creating solutions instead of
Well,
pointing at the
and
problem?
that's it because you think about where these conspiracies are coming from. They're coming from governments, they're coming from news agencies, they're coming from these global, corporations and businesses and everything like that that we have no choice over. We have no control over. So therefore, we have to let the things that are real come to us and we deal with those things. And we have to let the things that are not real go, or the things that are outside of our control go.
The things about it.
In doing that, it shapes our change for the better. So remember when you change you for the better, you change the people around you for the better because they want to change. They see that it's possible. That's the greatest thing.
Yeah.
When they see change within other people, they're like, well, he can do it, I can do it. And it's true. What one person has done, you could do if you try hard enough, if you do not try hard enough, if you do it hard enough, if go hard enough, you will reach those levels. So to the conspiracy is that, again, it's a mindset, it's a belief system, and mindsets and belief systems are based on a handful of ideas and or beliefs that we hold to be true. So what happens is the government does something, they try to hush it up, they try to hide it from people, and now again we're very over here, over here. We're very extreme. We go from the extremes. We don't. We don't sit there and be like, okay, well, this is like a one-time thing. Now it's every time the news comes on, it's fake. Now every time whatever the government says is a lie.
Right.
Okay, well, it's probably not true. It's based on people, it's based on pride, it's based on integrity and ego and everything like that, their morals and beliefs. It doesn't mean that everything is a conspiracy. But now we
Mm-hmm.
start looking at things in that
Looking for.
in that light.
Yeah.
And not wrong to question things. That's fine. But another question should also be, how does this affect me and should I even care?
Yeah.
Because if you're putting your time and energy into it, you're closed off to other things that could be more beneficial to you.
Mm. To your
So the
experience, to your ability to impact those things, to your capacity, like, yeah.
yeah, yeah. So the conspiracy mindset is one that is okay. I mean, it's fine to question things, but again, with everything, we have people who just become fanatical about it, and that's when it becomes not okay. There's no balance there. You're too one-sided. You're not open to, and again, this goes into the mindsets. Remember that when we have a belief, we look for proof to acknowledge that belief and to reinforce that belief
Mm-hmm.
because when we believe something, the last thing we're doing is looking for evidence to contradict our belief, because that would mean that we're wrong. Well, nobody likes to be wrong. So we're going to search for things to make ourselves right. So this is where the damage comes in of being very polarized on certain subjects or ideals like politics, religion, conspiracies, things like that.
Yeah.
When you dive too deep, your belief systems, you're now looking for things that are going to acknowledge your beliefs rather than contradict them, and keep yourselves open to the fact that, well, maybe I'm not right. So if
Mm.
you keep yourself, again, we jump. It's like, oh, they lied to us once. They must always be lying.
Yeah.
Not like,
Like
oh, they
black or
lied
white
to us
thinking,
once.
right? There's no gradients in between, as one or the other, and that in itself is a challenging mindset to walk around the world with, right? Part of the form of therapy is to bring that sort of those extremes into more of a middle ground and be able to navigate within the world, recognizing, oh, there's an intense thought, great, but that doesn't mean every time, all the time. Yeah.
Yeah, I like to think of it. So our subconscious minds work really well with symbols, and analogies. I've got tons of analogies because the subconscious mind loves them.
Mm-hmm.
So one of them that I like to bring in is the idea of what's real and what's not real. So, like you said, to stay in that balanced area of open-mindedness, and you can pick a side on some things, that's fine, but still remain open to contradicting beliefs or opinions or ideas or information, so that you can make another choice as to, well, maybe I was wrong about something, maybe I was misinformed, because it happens all the time. Science is great like this. We were all raised to, Pluto's a planet, and it's like, not anymore, it's not. And science doesn't have to apologize and be like, I'm sorry to 3, 4, 5 billion generations that we were wrong. It's just like, nope, it's just not true anymore. And now you have to get used to that. So you have to be on a mindset that it's like, okay, I can take this new information and just accept it as real.
Yeah.
So I like to think of all this information, all these beliefs and ideas as clouds floating across a brilliant blue sky. And you look at them, and I'm actually looking at clouds right now out the window, and you see them for what they are. They're brilliant, they are interesting, and then there you go, and then you let them go. Keep what's real, and let go anything else. So if somebody comes up to you and says the earth is flat, okay, why do you think the earth is flat? Oh, because that's very interesting. I'm still going to believe that it's round. But that is very interesting. They were
Yeah.
clouds floating across a brilliant blue sky, which
Yeah.
is my mind.
Yeah.
And I'm going to keep what I'm going to keep, and I'm going to let go what I'm going to let go. I'm not going to
Yeah.
get angry about it. I'm not going to get, you know, there's no point. It's all just information. So
Yeah.
what's real and what's not real, and
Yeah.
what matters to me and what doesn't matter to me.
Yeah.
That's all. So
Wow.
that analogy, when you think of information, really does help you to kind of keep you are the blue sky.
Hmm. Hmm. Oh my gosh. On that note, it's been so wonderful to be here with you and to dive deep today. Um,
Thank you.
you said
It's
you said we
it's
don't know
it's
how
always
much.
nice to talk about this stuff. I love this. I'm very passionate about what I do and educating people about the power that they have within them. And yeah, once you learn it, it's yeah.
Yeah, I would love to do another show with you or to do maybe even a class on like taking that joy, like taking the relatively enlightened beings to like blissful Kundalini joy all the time. I I
Ooh,
would love
yes,
to
let's
collaborate
do
on
that.
that. Let's do that.
Let's do that. People be walking out. They wouldn't even be walking. They floating out of the room. Yeah, let's do that. I'm very into that.
Yeah.
This year has been a lot of speaking engagements and
Yeah, you've got a couple coming up. What do you have coming up?
so October, I've actually got two. So one is the women's show out in Cochrane on
Okay.
the blah, I'm not sure. It's on a Saturday. And then the other one is also on a Saturday, I believe. So that, and they're both in October. So one's in Cochrane for the women's show, and the other one is the Mind Body Soul or Mind Body Spirit Expo
Yeah.
at Deerfoot Inn and Casino. That's in October as well.
Yeah.
I'll be talking. They actually have my time slot already at 6 o'clock.
Right.
We'll
Awesome.
be talking about the success mindset.
Okay.
And yeah, and then my talks are really awesome because I actually get people to come up. I hypnotize them like a stage
Oh,
show,
I love
but I
stage.
use them as examples of what I'm talking about so they can actually experience for
Yeah.
themselves what I'm talking about
Yeah.
and make these changes for themselves. So
Yeah.
my shows are very, very interactive and
Interactive.
interesting.
Yeah, so if
Yeah,
somebody wants an opportunity to, if they're like, well, I need to be up on stage there,
that's right.
or if they know that they want that kind of transformation, then they can definitely get a hold of you. And I put your contact information in the live here so people can get a hold of you.
Thank
Um,
you. Appreciate
yeah,
that. Yeah,
people can
it's
get a hold of
like I
you.
said, working with people who are already happy, healthy, and whole is a goal of mine to just get them to that next level. But I'm
Yeah,
always looking for people who are just telling themselves that this is just how life is. This is just the way
yeah,
things are. This is just how I am. Always looking to help people
yeah.
with
Because people
that
don't need to live
because
there. They
it's
don't
not
need to
true.
live there anymore. And if somebody's been watching this and felt like they're just sort of getting by in life, then this is a really powerful opportunity and a really powerful like call to things can be different, things can be better. They can be radically better in a very short period of time because we are
Very short
creating
period of
from
time.
inside of ourselves our reality and the way that we look at it. You can run a simple experiment and say, I want to look for green cars over the next couple of days while you're driving to and from work, and you'll see them. You'll see them in a way you hadn't seen them before, and that in itself is enough sort of proof to be like, oh, okay, well, and then maybe what else is possible beyond that. And so if you on Chris is because you're, whoop, maybe he just popped out. I'm not sure. He went sideways. One of the reasons I brought Chris on is because I was so impressed with his uh, decisiveness on like change happens quickly, and I love seeing that in practitioners. And so I'm really excited to have him on the New Earth Online website and having his offerings as part of that. So if anybody's interested in checking that out, please head over there. The links are all in the description of the chat, and it's been really wonderful having Chris here and getting to chat with you guys today. Hope you have a beautiful, beautiful, beautiful day. And wrapping up now, and we'll speak with you guys next week. And check the feed for some more information on who's going to be in that feed, who's going to be in that spot next week. And next Thursday, we're going to have Dolphin Casper on live. He's going to be here in the house, which I'm super stoked about. And we're going to be chatting about all things human potential, which I think is a great follow up to today's talk, talking about anything being possible within our lives. So I love you guys so much. Thank you for being here. Thank you for being part of the community. Thank you for growing and evolving and really embodying your highest, most passionate, most powerful self. Have a beautiful day.